week. He is our own personal photo sensei at sensei.photo and joins us each week to help us get better pictures. Hi, Chris.
Hello. How's it going?
It's going great. Today, our topic, perspective.
Perspective, because the perspective makes pictures, well, what they are, and because it always depends on where you are when you take the photo. And interesting photos often are taken from an unusual perspective. So perspective is the point in space that you are at. So normally we take pictures from somewhere up here, right? So somewhere between, well, let's say in the olden days when you had to look through a viewfinder, then the photos were often just taken from eye height. Right. Kind of boring because that's how we see the world.
Although I have to say, in the real old days when you had waist, like those Rolleiflexes where your camera was at your waist and you were looking down into it, there were some opportunities there for interesting
definitely.
angles. And you've always told me, I've seen you do this, get on your knees and take a picture.
Yeah. So with the advent of cameras that you kind of look at a display at, you hold them in front of you, that has a bit expanded. People go a bit lower, a bit higher, but I'm just a fan of going to the extremes here. Right.
So this first picture in the gallery that you sent us, and we'll post it on the Tech Guy Labs site, is in a court of a skyscraper, but taken from the bottom, looking straight up. Yeah. Straight up.
Very unusual perspective. So looking up, looking down, going low, going high, even a perspective from inside things that you usually can't go inside. Yeah. That's kind of what this is about, to look at the world from spots that you usually don't look at it from. So
you have a lot of pictures of stairwells. I always try to take pictures of these spiral staircases from the bottom.
And it's not that easy.
No,
it's not that easy.
Hard to
you need to compose it well. You need to move the camera in the right spot. You make sure that things go in the right place in the photo. If you have a really low perspective, like on this photo, then the foreground becomes really big. So that is a very good trick if you don't have a nice foreground.
So this is on the beach.
Make yourself.
And there's somebody walking in the distance, and there's a horizon and a sunset in the distance. But because the photographer has gotten down low to the ground, as you say, the beach itself is 90, well, not 90, but 2/3 of the picture is just the sand.
And it's massive.
It's massive. It's a very interesting idea. I like it. Yeah.
Or the next one is try to get parallel to things, because that makes them straight and nice. Like for example, you want to take a picture of the front of a building. Now, of course, you will usually stand in front of the building and point the camera upwards, which is a very usual perspective. But if you have a chance to well, it's kind of how we see the world every day. So if you go to the other side of the street and try to find a higher vantage point to get more parallel to that building, then you can get a very interesting straight perspective that you don't usually see from a building. So again, interesting, different perspective. And what's interesting, trying the extremes, what I like for going really low, for example, is using something like a smartphone's camera. Because when you look at where the camera is on your phone, it's usually close to the edge. So you can, if you go low, you can be like 1/2 inch from the ground, which is lower than like the bigger mirrorless cameras or the DSLRs can do. So you can get into spaces that you couldn't get to before, or raise the camera up. I mean, a trick that wedding photographers use is they often take the shot of the wedding party from, let's say, a first floor balcony or something.
I've seen them get up on a ladder to do that sometimes.
Well, I remember that from our school photographer back in the day, who came by once a year to take pictures of all the classes. And he brought a ladder all the time. And I didn't really understand why, but now I know if you take that shot from a higher vantage point, from a higher perspective, then it'll just make people look nicer. And a group in a group, you can see all the faces because everyone's looking up. No one's covering up anyone else, and people have a nice stretched chin. So that's a very nice perspective to shoot from.
I love this one. This is on a hill. So imagine, if you will, houses on a fairly steep hill, but the photographer has tilted the camera so that the road looks flat, and now the houses look like they're going uphill.
Well, it's a perspective that you can find in San Francisco, and especially if you have a car like here, the post van in front of the house, then that becomes really comical because the houses are at a big angle and that car is on a seemingly flat.
It's driving a flat road, and it's the houses that are kooky. Love that. Yeah. Love that idea.
So another perspective that you can get these days, which wasn't that easy in the past, is of course even higher up, and I'm talking drone shots, because
I love drone shots.
That opens up a really new world for you. Back in the day, you'd probably have to hire a helicopter for some of these shots that you can now get from a drone.
Right.
So that is pretty cool. And
somebody told me, I think it was Trey Ratcliffe, that the reason he loved drone photography is it's a perspective you don't usually get. I mean, it's one thing to get on a ladder or a first floor balcony and look down, but when you're 100 feet up looking down at your house or something you know well, you're seeing it in a way you've never seen it before, and that's pretty darn cool. And
here's a tip for those who want to play with this and try this. You don't have to be where your camera is nowadays. You don't need to be glued to the camera, because you'll have Wi-Fi on your camera. You'll have a remote on your smartphone. If you have an iPhone and an Apple Watch, the Apple Watch is your remote control for the camera. So you can put your camera into a washing machine or a dryer or a waste paper basket or something weird to shoot from, which is super easy to do these days.
There are a number of TikTokers. I actually think that some of the creativity on TikTok is fantastic. And there are a number of TikTokers who are doing transitions in the phone, moving, and that's exactly the kind of thing they're doing. They're putting it in a wastebasket, shooting out, or, if you want to get a picture of somebody putting something in the fridge, they're putting the phone in the back of the fridge and using a remote control to take a picture. And it's a great looking shot. I mean, now these are mostly video, but it's the same idea. It's really, I think, cool.
Yeah, definitely. So that's a huge playground, and putting the camera in different places, definitely. And by the way, anyone who wants to try that out,